The story begins hundreds of years ago. At that time, if people suspected any woman of practicing black magic, they would consider her a witch, imprison her, and then publicly hang her. A man holding a religious book would pronounce sentences on the women based on what was written in it, while some women who practiced minor sorcery would confess their mistakes and beg for forgiveness. One witch who was blind in one eye cursed the man, saying, "You will go to hell." However, her words had no effect on the man, and he immediately ordered the 3 witches to be hanged. Afterward, the 3 witches were hanged from a bridge, and their bodies were submerged in water. As the soldiers were about to leave, the priest said that according to the book, the witches' bodies must be brought back up for a proper funeral to ensure they never return. But one soldier just laughed, saying he was sure they were dead. Later that night, the very worried priest returned to the bridge and began pulling up the witches one by one while chanting spells. He did all this without fear, even though one witch's body was shaking terrifyingly. However, pulling up the last, which required immense strength, the priest couldn't lift her and instead fell into the water himself. Before the demonic force could kill him, he tried to escape and reach the bridge, desperately searching the book for protective spells. But he didn't have much time. Suddenly, the witch's demonic spirit jumped out of the water and, using her powers, burned the book before giving the priest the same kind of death he had tried to give them. Now, the story advances a few years where preparations for war are underway. Among thousands of soldiers, 2 warriors, Behman and his companion Felson, are joking about who will kill more enemies. Within minutes, the battle begins. Both are expert warriors, and over the next few years, they fight many battles in the name of God. Many years later, Behman's army attacks a city called Smyrna, but in the chaos, Behman kills an unarmed woman. Soon, they realize their army has massacred an entire city. The next morning, Behman questions a leader from the church, who replies that he only does what God commands. After a brief argument, Behman declares he will no longer work for them and quietly leaves with his friend. A month later, the 2 enter a house searching for a place to stay, but it's empty. Upon searching, they find a husband and wife dead on a bed, their bodies covered in sores. Fearing the disease, they burn the house and leave. Soon, they see a city with hundreds of crows flying above it. Despite Felson's hesitation, they enter out of necessity, only to find the entire city suffering from the plague. A soldier named Eckhart explains that it's a demonic disease with no cure. While Behman is arranging fodder for the horses, his sword falls, and a shop owner recognizes the mark on it. Fearing capture, Behman and Felson try to leave quickly, but soldiers surround them. Though they fight fiercely, they are soon outnumbered by archers and forced to surrender. Then, a man named de Belzac, who works for the church, stops the soldiers and examines the mark on Behman's sword. He takes them to the head priest, who, afflicted with the plague, tells them it's a curse from a dark witch. He explains they have imprisoned this witch, and she must be taken to a holy monastery where the last copy of Solomon's book can end her curse. Behman refuses, saying he no longer works for the church. He knows this decision will land them in jail, where he sees the accused woman, who doesn't look like a witch at all. Later, Behman wakes to the woman's crying and sees whip marks on her body. Seeing her condition melts his heart, and he agrees to the church's demand. While planning the journey, Johann warns them that the shortest path through the forest is extremely dangerous. For guidance, de Belzac introduces them to Hagamar, a man imprisoned for fraud who knows the route well. Behman offers him freedom in exchange for his help, and Hagamar immediately agrees. Their plan is to drug the witch and transport her while she sleeps, but as they approach, she suddenly attacks. Behman and Felson manage to subdue her, and with the witch caged, their journey to the monastery begins. Meanwhile, back in the city, the head priest dies. During the journey, Eckhart questions if the girl is truly a witch. De Belzac claims the plague followed her arrival, but Eckhart counters that it also appeared in his village where she had never been. At that moment, Behman and Felson suspect they are being followed and set a trap. The pursuer, a young man named Kay, gets caught and explains he wants to be a warrior like them. After Kay loses a duel to Felson, Behman agrees to let him join. As the sun sets, Behman brings food to the girl, who tells him a story of an innocent woman from her village who was burned as a witch. Behman promises her a fair trial. When he returns, de Belzac warns him to stay away, claiming the witch will play with his mind. Later that night, while the priest is on watch, the girl starts crying. As Eckhart approaches to comfort her, she grabs him by the throat and stabs the priest's cross into his hand. By the time the others arrive, the witch has escaped. Their search leads them to a village filled with rotting plague victims. There, Eckhart begins to hallucinate, hearing his dead daughter's voice. When he follows it, he finds Kay. Mistaking him for his daughter, Eckhart advances, and a terrified Kay stabs him in the chest. Elsewhere, Felson finds the witch, who claims she only ran because she was scared. They cage her again and continue. The next morning, After praying for Johann's soul, de Belzac warns the group that the witch will use their weaknesses against them. The next day, they reach an old, dilapidated bridge. As the witch's cart crosses, Kay nearly falls, but the girl grabs his wrist and pulls him up with inhuman strength. Just as they make it across, the bridge collapses. With no other path, they enter a dense, foggy forest. Suddenly, the witch starts howling like a wolf, attracting a real pack. They manage to fight off the animals, but as they try to leave, a wolf attacks Hagamar, and he is brutally torn apart by the pack. The next morning, a furious Behman wants to kill the witch, but Felson calms him, reminding him the monastery is not far. Soon, they reach their destination. Inside, they find that the plague has already killed all the priests. One priest, with his last breath, points toward the Book of Solomon. As de Belzac prepares to read the spells, the girl reveals her true nature. She is not a witch, but a demon seeking revenge on the church. When the priest begins chanting, the demon takes a terrifying form, melts the bars of her cage, and emerges as a winged monster before disappearing into the monastery shadows. The men realize the demon wanted to be brought here all along to destroy the book. Suddenly, the corpses of the dead priests reanimate and attack them from all sides. While the warriors fight, de Belzac tries to read the rites. However, a priest attacks and injures Felson. With no one to protect him, the demon kills de Belzac and moves to destroy the book. Just then, Behman throws holy water on it. The enraged demon grabs Behman, but Felson attacks from behind, only to be turned to ash by the demon's wings. As the demon turns back to Behman, Kay bravely begins to chant the spells. In a final act, Behman drags the demon to a wall and pins its wings with 2 daggers, holding it in place as Kay completes the ritual. The demon's body writhes and burns in flames, finally freeing the girl's body from its control. In the aftermath, Kay rushes to Behman, whose wounds are fatal. With his last words, Behman tells Kay to protect the innocent girl. In the end, Kay and the girl thank the fallen warriors and ride off on their horses, finally heading home.